The night it happened started with a scream, a bloodstain, and a choice that split my life into a before and an after. I was halfway through folding sheets in the laundry room when Sloane Whitmore's voice cracked the east wing like lightning. And by the time I reached Lila's room, the bedside lamp was warm. The air was cold, and that red bloom on her pajama shorts had turned a brave kid into a statue. I knew that look. Jaw-tight hands shaking a whisper shaped like "Please help me." And I went straight to the little teal pouch I keep for moments like this. Pads wipes a square of chocolate, because sometimes sugar is a life raft. I showed Lila how to place a pad, how to breathe, how to uncurl her shoulders, and she squeezed my hand so hard my knuckles popped. "Don't tell my mom, please." Then the door hit the wall. The ballet poster rattled, and Sloane stood in silk and fury. "Get away from her!" She yanked Lila by the arm like I was a fire, not a person. And Grant stepped in behind her with that boardroom stillness. People mistake for wisdom. I raised my palms, kept my voice low. She got her period. "I'm helping, that's all. You disgusting liar," Sloane snapped. "Who told you you could undress my child?" Lila tried. "Mom, stop," but her voice was small. Grant looked at the blood. The pouch my hands, and skipped questions entirely. "Pack your things," he said, calm as a closing elevator. "You're done here." The slap came before my brain caught up, ring-scraping lip iron. Taste that hot sting that makes a room tilt for a second. That happened. I steadied myself on the dresser and said the truest thing I could find. She was scared. I was protecting her dignity. By touching my daughter in the middle of the night, Sloane hissed, and there it was. Fear wearing the mask of love louder than the truth. I packed in 12 minutes. Staff lined the hallway like watchers at a parade. They didn't ask for somebody. Whispered knew she'd slip up, not because they hate you, you know what I mean, but because people want bad things to have neat reasons. I left a 2-line note on Lila's nightstand. "You're not gross, you're growing." Tucked the pouch beside it, and walked down a driveway long enough to hold a marching band with blood drying on my lip, and dignity held together by a safety pin. That night, the diner on Post Road smelled like burnt coffee and second chances. The waitress took one look at my face, slid over a stack of napkins, like a blessing kitchen's got pie. "Hon, I can cut you a slice bigger than the plate. Got anything small enough for rent?" I just lost. I tried to joke, and it came out crooked. She smiled like she'd seen 1,000 versions of me. "Then I'll make it big enough for courage." Nurse Elena at St. Luke's was kind in the practical way. Aunt Ruth's chemo clock was ticking. Insurance covered some. The rest might as well have been ladder rungs cut off the wall. "We can hold until Friday," she said, "but not beyond. When you don't have money, every deadline is weather." I landed in a room above the Martins' garage. Thin walls, honest rent, a mattress that squeaked every time I changed my mind. I picked up 2 cash jobs cleaning an office lobby that pretended it was a forest house sitting for a retired pair who called each other fool and honey with the same kindness. I told myself I was fine. Then Marisol, the new dishwasher at the estate, knocked on the Martins' door with rain pinned to her eyelashes and a stubborn umbrella. "Lila hasn't been eating. She said she keeps a pouch on her nightstand with your name on a note. I thought you should know." "You mattered." She handed me a card from Mr. Doyle, the cook. Shaky handwriting. It's the ones who clean up who learn the truth first. Don't let them make you doubt your eyes. I slept with that note under my pillow like a teenager with a secret. The next morning, I made a decision that changed everything. I went back. Not to beg, not to break anything, just to say 4 words out loud where they belonged. The entry hall was marble and echo, and temperature-controlled disapproval. Sloane lifted her chin, like I was late to a party I wasn't invited to. "You have some nerve," she said. "No," I told her, "I have a spine." Grant hovered like a supervisor of feelings he didn't plan to have. I kept my voice level. "That night wasn't about me touching your daughter. It was about you being scared of a part of her you never learned how to love. She wasn't in danger. She was becoming. I handled it with dignity because that's what she deserved. You called it filthy because fear talks first and loudest." "Are you calling me a bad mother?" she snapped. "I'm saying you chose your fear over your daughter," I said. "And you hit the only person in the room who wasn't afraid of her body." The house got quiet enough to hear the grandfather clock like a guilty heart. Then Lila ran down the stairs and hit my chest with a hug strong enough to rearrange ribs. "Please don't hate me," she whispered. "I couldn't if I tried," I told her, and I looked Sloane in the face and said, "I can't stay. But your daughter doesn't owe anyone shame for being human. I left with nothing fixed, and everything moved. Victory doesn't always arrive like a brass band. Sometimes it shows up as a phone call you read twice." Friday, Nurse Elena again. First round's covered. Anonymous donor. No strings. I sat on the squeaky bed and cried the ugly way, the kind that sounds like you're ripping a zipper off your chest. I didn't know who helped. I still don't. I hope they're somewhere with warm light and the kind of quiet that heals. Back at the estate, news has a way of slipping under expensive doors. Even the butler had asked whether the hallway cameras recorded that night. I learned later they did. No audio, but you could see everything. Panic pouch slap, and that second slap that makes you understand why shame is heavy. I started showing up at the Maple Street Community Center. Drop a bag of clothes, stay to stack chairs, then stay to listen, then stay, because Thursday night turned into a circle of girls with chipped nail polish and hurricane hearts learning how to take the shape of their own voices. We talked about bodies, sure, but mostly about truth, how to get it from your chest to your mouth without losing your nerve mid-sentence. Life did not get neat. Bills stayed stubborn. Grief kept its own schedule. But honesty let me sleep. Then an envelope slid under the Martins' door. Dinner at the Whitmores, not as staff, as a guest. My first instinct was to rip it, my second to frame it, my third, the one I trust, was to go for Lila. No server's family style, the kind of table where regular napkins mean real conversation. Sloane's shoulders were lower. Grant looked like a man who'd heard a story about himself and finally believed it wasn't flattering. Halfway through, Sloane put her fork down. I restored the hallway footage. She said no ribbon, no preface. I deleted it that night to protect our privacy. Truth is, I was protecting my pride. I gave the file to a victims advocacy group. You can do what you want with it. I'd been waiting for sorry. Instead, I got something rarer: accountability. I'm not interested in revenge. I said I'm interested in the truth, living somewhere other than my body. Grant didn't have a move. Lila asked if she could visit Aunt Ruth with me. Sloane didn't answer for her, just looked at me and said, "If you both want that, say when." On the way out, Lila pressed a small box into my hand, a silver star pin, for when you forget who you are. I thought I'd wear it once. Now I wear it, when the world tries me. A letter from a legal group came next. Victims' Rights and Advocacy. We can start with a demand letter. No press. No theater. Just the truth on paper. I asked for 3 things: compensation for wrongful termination and assault. A formal apology that uses real words, not euphemisms, and funding for a girls' health program at Maple Street, with Ride's pizza calendars, a nurse who speaks facts, and a room where nobody flinches at the word blood. A week later, the Whitmore Foundation sent a letter that didn't dance. We accept and acknowledge your account. We failed you. We harmed you. We will fund the program in your name. We apologize without condition. There was a check that made my knees reconsider their job description, and a second envelope addressed to the girls of Maple Street. From Lila, a stack of cards I read out loud to the circle that night, while some girls cried, and others rolled their eyes, just to keep the tears from falling. If this were a movie, credits would roll. Real life keeps talking. The city handed me an award with an earnest name, the kind that would make Aunt Ruth laugh and cry in the same breath. Sloan stood in the back and didn't take pictures. Grant shook my hand without asking for absolution to fall out of mine. Lila wore her own star pin and sent me a photo of her journal later. I'm proud of my body today. Back at the Martins, a flash drive waited on my table. No note, just the promise of a choice you can feel in your fingers. The footage is exactly what you think it is. I watched enough to know it wasn't lying. Then I closed the laptop and put the drive in the drawer with my passport. At the window star pin warm in my palm, I asked the question you're already forming. Do I release it and let the world do what it does to stories like mine? Or do I let the truth keep working without handing it over to the circus? Maybe you call that cowardice. Maybe you call it grace. I call it a decision I revisit like a bruise, gently, honestly. So here's where I leave it. Hook twist, and what passes for a victory in the real world. A scream, a stain, a slap, and a door. A diner, a note, a spine in a marble hall. A table with regular napkins, a letter that said the thing out loud. A program where girls read their truths into a room that claps because it recognizes itself. Tell me in the comments, what's justice here? What's performance? Would you release the footage or keep it in the drawer? Have you ever seen power get scared and call itself love? Like the video, share it with someone who needs a hand to hold on a hard night, and tell me where you're watching from. Your story might be the next courage a girl on Maple Street borrows tomorrow.